Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce Lab by Ecommerce, the place for everything related to Amazon, FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecommerce, and today I bring a friend of mine. His name is AJ Saunders, and he's the founder and CEO of AGS Group, where they specialize on everything that has to do with marketing around e-commerce. So I think this is great for us because I know on this podcast we focus around on Amazon, and we sometimes think Amazon is the only thing actually e-commerce is around, but e-commerce is much more than that. And that's why I wanted to bring Ashley today because he has an extensive experience around everything outside of Amazon as well. And not today we're gonna touch on interesting topics around, strategies and things that are happening in general. So Ashley, it's a pleasure to have you here, my friend. How you doing?
My friend, I'm so glad to be here. I'm so excited. We have such a great talk, aren't we?
Yeah, thank you for being here. I think when we had the
Oh,
chat, I think over 1 week ago, and I learned about what you guys do with your agency and everything. I think it was very interesting because, as I say, in this podcast, we always talk around Amazon, but I think that as Amazon becomes more competitive, sometimes we also need to start thinking outside the box, and that's e-commerce in general. And I know that's your bread and butters, like social media,
100%.
email
Yeah.
marketing, and so on. And I think it would be great to get some insights around that. Now, before we jump into that, though, and I do this with all my guests because I feel like the beauty of these conversations that we can learn from, the people that we bring aboard, we can learn
100%.
around their
Yeah.
journey and everything that they did to reach the position they are right now. So maybe we can start with you and how you landed into the e-commerce space. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sure. So, I have a pretty interesting story. So, my first career was I was a guitarist. I lived in London for about 5 years.
Awesome.
And I came back broke and penniless, like my early 20s. And I
I
Googled
see.
how to make money online, right?
Oh,
And then
good.
from there, I taught myself digital marketing. I started an ebook publishing company. A few
Mm-hmm.
years down the line, I got into WordPress and building websites and doing
Yeah.
SEO work. And then started doing e-commerce. So I started doing e-commerce, buying stuff off of eBay, right, as bulk
Yeah.
orders, and
Yeah.
then just splitting them up and reselling them. And that wasn't that profitable, but it kind of taught me the basics, right? And then from
Yeah.
there, I found distributors, I found brands that would talk to little old me, and and then before long, we had customers in 12 countries, and it was a really, really interesting kind of journey. And then off the back of that, about 5 years ago, I transitioned to running affiliate sites, and then about 2 years ago, I transitioned back to running, to doing general marketing for other people, consultancy, and
Yeah.
then I've just in the last kind of year, I've focused mainly on e-commerce companies and helping them really understand and really grow. And so that's kind
That's
of my
awesome.
journey in
Wow.
2 minutes.
Yeah, I love it. I think the beauty of e-commerce and this is funny because I found this to be a quite constant across all the entrepreneurs we bring to the podcast is that we
Right.
find e-commerce as a mistake in the sense that we're trying to figure out in our journey as an entrepreneur and we want to do a business on the side. And most of the time e-commerce, it's one of the few things that really say you can start from your bedroom. I mean, how many business you
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
that? Not many, right?
No.
And
No.
it's nice to see that you went through the journey just like me as well. I had my job and then decided I wanted to do a business, and that's how I discovered
Yeah.
Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Right. Right.
great to
Right.
see your whole journey. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now,
No. Yeah.
let's start talking a little bit about what you guys do, right? I know you specialize
Yeah.
around e-commerce and basically helping this business navigate the monster that is e-commerce. E-commerce has many moving parts. You have social media marketing, you have email marketing, you have ACO.
Yeah.
And maybe let's start with first getting your insights around what are some of the main things right now we say an e-commerce business should be focusing in 2023. So what are the areas you see right now maybe are moving more the needle if you need to choose one? Yeah. I know it's a
So
difficult question. I know it can be very broad, but I think a lot of people, because when they get started, and I know this for a fact because some clients ask me, it's like, what should I do first? Should I focus on email marketing? Should I focus on social media? Should I just focus on
yeah.
SEO?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your advice on that? Yeah.
So that's actually a really easy question for me, right? And I'll
That's good.
explain why. And it may not be, fairly easy for other people. But for me, it all comes back to, what is our strategy, right? And strategy is literally who can I help, how can I help, and what games I want to play, and how can I win at that game, right? It's those
Yeah,
four simple questions, right? And so, you could say, the game that I want to play is to be the number one rated seller of car parts on eBay, right?
yeah,
And so therefore, or sorry, like the number one car parts reseller for Ford Fiestas on eBay, right?
yeah,
We'll go stupidly niche just to make
yeah.
the example really easy,
Which
right?
is good, by the way.
Um,
Being niche in e-commerce is good. Yeah.
it's very good, exactly, right? And so, but understanding who we're trying to reach, how we're going to reach them, in terms of like channels or to the
Yeah.
marketing channels, etc., right? And then how we can win at that game, you know, that really just distills what you're going to then tactically do for the next year, 3, 5 years, right? And lots of
Yeah.
people just think, I've got to have all these tactics. I've got to do email marketing, I've got to do SEO, I've got to be on Pinterest, I've got to be on TikTok, etc., etc., etc. And what they end up doing is they end up diluting what their core business
Mhm.
is, because they're trying to be everywhere for everything and they don't have a strategy, and they're just jumping from tactic to tactic to tactic
Yeah. The shiny
without
object
having a grand
syndrome, basically.
plan.
They're chasing everything, the
Yeah,
shiny
yeah.
thing, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, so for me, it literally is right. Get your strategy right, and then think about the next step on from that is what tactics you want to use, and then the third thing is what is a minimal viable tactic, right? Minimal viable tactic. We've heard minimal viable products, right? We can apply the same idea to marketing. So minimal viable tactic would be literally, can we can we send that's based off a template that takes us 20 minutes to put together, right? Minimal viable
Yeah.
tactic. Can we repurpose like our meta descriptions that we're writing for product descriptions as social posts? Again, minimal viable tactic, etc.
Yeah.
And so so those are the three things that I always go back to and always start from with clients and with myself is, what is the strategy, what tactics do I want to deploy, and what is the minimum that I
Mhm.
can do to test that tactic before I either
Mm.
go, all in on it, or I just kind of like decide that it's not
All
going to
over the
work for me.
place. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's a very good advice. I think one of the mistakes I also see with people when they jump into e-commerce is like they feel like in order to be successful, you need to be successful in all areas at once. Like I need to
Yeah,
be an
yeah,
expert on email marketing and social media,
yeah,
SEO,
yeah,
marketplace. And the reality is that you first start with one, like and
yeah,
you test it, you see how it goes, and you start shifting from one to one. Because I feel like most people, I mean, some people have, a big budget, and they can afford to do that, but the reality is that most people, they start with a limited budget. And I think
mm,
the best thing you can do is first, as you say,
yeah,
give a taste of those areas first, and then see which one give you the best return, and then
yeah.
scale it from there, right?
Yeah,
Now,
because the,
um
the 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 other
yeah,
thing, sorry, the other thing is, so, and this is something I talk a lot about on like social, and a lot. I argue about this with people all the time, which is great, right? It literally is, if say say you've got $100 this month, right, to spend, right, which is
yeah,
probably, uh, 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 you know, it's not a massive amount, it's not a tiny amount, right? So you have $100.
yeah.
You can test some email marketing and some social, like paid social or like organic social. And then what you can do is with that data, you can then roll it into, right, I want to hire an agency or I want to hire a freelancer that can do X better than I can do X based on the
Hmm.
data that we've collected. And therefore you're setting the
Hmm.
benchmarks, you're setting like the KPIs for them, right? Key performance indicators of what success should look like as they take it to the next level. And because they're a freelancer or they're an agency or an expert in that thing, they're obviously gonna be able to do it far, far better than you can, but you need to have that initial kind of like step one level of knowledge, right? And
Yeah,
that's where a lot of people go wrong is they just think, oh, we can throw money at marketing and it works. Marketing never has
yeah.
worked in that way. You have to have a bit of knowledge, and then you have to find the right partner to help you execute on that little bit of knowledge, that little bit of data that you collected before you can start to scale. And that's where lots of people get it wrong.
Fully agree with you. And I think now an idea that just came to my mind, and maybe you can help me elaborate on this because you have more
Yeah,
experience in terms of outside of Amazon. When it comes to starting your e-commerce journey, right? I would say, from my point of view, the thing that for sure you should be doing like almost perfect. I mean, nothing is perfect, but the thing that you should be doing as good as possible from day one, I believe, is ACO, because I feel like we
Yeah.
know ACO takes time to get built, and if you do it wrong from day one, then you say, you know what, I'm gonna take care of it 1 year, 2 years later. All that time is wasted, right? Compared to maybe paid advertising in marketing that you can always turn it around in a couple of weeks or months, but ACO takes time. So, what is your take on this, and some advice you can provide around that? Yeah.
Yeah. So my big advice is actually, separate things into, short term, long term, and medium term. Like
Okay.
tactics,
Okay.
and then pick one of each or pick a couple of each, right? And then invest in them. So for me, paid ads is obviously be short term, right? You're gonna get
Yeah.
you should get a result within 24, 48 hours, right? If you're doing it,
Yeah.
if you're doing it right, right? Number one, SEO is going to be a long term thing because it's going to take you. It may take you 3 months, it may take you 6 months, it may take you 2 years, right, to actually get some traction
Mm-hmm.
happening. But you still have to invest over those. It's still a long term investment, right? But it
Yeah.
doesn't negate that you shouldn't invest. Does that make sense?
I see what you mean. I see what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
basically choosing what you want to achieve in what time frame. Yeah.
right. Exactly. And then you might do like medium term, might be email, right, or SMS, some sort of retention marketing, which again,
Mm-hmm.
is a medium term play because it may take you 4 emails for people to start responding to those emails and buying, clicking
Mm-hmm.
through it, etc. But yeah, so that's how I structure things. And then for like with SEO in particular, I think what a lot of people do is they get really fascinated by shiny objects. They think, let's try TikTok this week, and they may be
Yeah.
operating in the market where actually there's not a lot of SEO, magic happening, or sorry, not magic, but like there may not be a lot of like competition to the SEO
I see what I
happening,
mean. Mm-hmm.
and therefore actually they could get some incremental gains, within 3 months if they just focused on that. So that's the first thing
Mm-hmm.
that I think people make. So sorry, that's number one is they don't see it as a long-term play. They see it as, oh, it's something we can
Mm-hmm.
do next week. No, you have to be doing it now, and keep
Yeah.
feeding
Yeah.
the beast. And then
Yeah.
number two, look at the competitive landscape. You could be doing something now that would provide a result within a couple of months, right? And
Yeah.
then the third thing is a lot of people get wrong with SEO is they think it's a one-time investment, and
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
as you know from your experience running ads on Amazon, you never just set it and leave it. You're always
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
tweaking things, or constantly having new ideas, and constantly
You
spending
you
a bit of
find new
money testing
keywords, new
things.
phrases, new
Yeah,
trends,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I I think the biggest mistake that people make is they think that they operate in a static market or a static vertical, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
they do the work once and it's there and it's done. That's not how marketing works, and that's definitely not how SEO works at all. And so
Yeah.
you need to be on this, and the people that win at SEO aren't the smartest people necessarily, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they're the most consistent, and I think that's true for
Yeah.
whatever vertical you're in and whatever life you're doing. That is
Yeah.
the thing, right? They're just the most
Yeah.
consistent at doing it, and so yeah, so that's where I come down at SEO. Just use some more practical kind of tips because that's probably what people actually want,
Mm-hmm.
right? SEO to me and all marketing is literally, can we build checklists that enable us to cut down the process, cut down the bullshit, if that's okay or
Mm-hmm.
not, right?
Yeah. Of course. Feel free to say what you want.
Right, can we create checklists and templates and frameworks behind what we're doing, right, to
Mm-hmm.
make the implementation easier? Because if we have templates and we mark our calendar, like on the first of each month we need to do X, Y, and Z, right? On the second of the month
That's
we
right.
need to do some keyword research. You're then building a structure that makes it impossible for you not to complete the activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that's
see
where
what
a
you
lot
mean.
of people fail, right? Because they think SEO is just too grand a topic, too grand a scheme to kind of sort, fix, and get sorted. We just won't do
Mm-hmm.
it, right? Whereas if you try and break it down into component parts and into manageable chunks, it then becomes a heck of a lot easier to do, right?
Good.
And so that's
Very good
that's
advice.
kind of my little tips for you.
Good. And just and usually ask this question just in case you have some tool that you could recommend. Is there any tool that maybe for people getting started that you would say that's very good for ACO in general? Like let's say that you could recommend, a specific type of because I know there are these tools that help you like find keywords and all that. Is there something that you recommend for SEOs for that?
Yeah, so I don't recommend if you're just starting out going and buying like Ahrefs or SEMrush because they're
Yeah,
agency level software that is expensive. And once you
yeah,
understand that agency level, you're fine, right? So I wouldn't
yeah.
recommend people unless you want to spend a couple of grand on tools and you got
Yeah,
that budget. I
yeah,
wouldn't recommend, right? There are low cost tools like there's Uber Suggest, who by Neil Patel, who's a great SEO guy,
yeah.
and I think that's 15-20 bucks a month. You know, it's
That's
nothing
very good.
really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is really, really good. And there's also the tool that I use is SEO Power Suite,
Okay.
and they're essentially about the same. I think they're between 15-20 bucks, a month, and yeah, it works out. I think it's like $300 a year, right? To
Okay.
buy their tool suite.
Very good.
And I know the team quite. I know some of the team quite well, and I really, really like them. They're really, really great people. They're really, really experienced in what they're doing. And so yeah, so for me, that's what I love. That's what I use. But there's plenty of SEO tools out on the market, and it's just finding the one that
That
works in the way
suits
that
you.
you want it to work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
exactly,
sure.
exactly.
I think it's all about testing. You need to give it a chance to
Yeah,
all of them and
yeah,
see which one fits your style the
yeah,
best, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. And
awesome.
a lot of these SEO tools you can usually get like 14 days for free. And so
Yeah,
for
so it's
me,
no
yeah,
risk. Yeah, got
there's
it.
no risk. There's no risk. And I think Ahrefs are doing like a $7 7-day trial, right? They've been
Yeah,
doing that
so
forever, right? And so seven
yeah.
bucks is nothing. So you can try it. You can
It's
see
a
if
coffee
you like it,
pretty
see how
much.
it works. Exactly, exactly, my friend. Exactly, exactly.
Good.
So yeah,
Awesome.
so yeah,
Good. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So now, I want to also start touching a little bit on social media, and the reason why I want to do that is because that's one of the main things that for us, Amazon sellers, we always mention like, oh, we need to do social media, we need to have a presence, we need to go with influencers and all that. And I know it's a vast topic. Of course, we cannot cover all of it right now, but I would like to start maybe with what have you seen in the social media space that is actually also been giving the best results. So, and what I mean with this to summarize the question is like, have you seen any specific platform working the best, like maybe Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, or realistically, always gonna come down as you mentioned the product? Or what is your take on this? Yeah.
yeah. So I think for me, it always comes back to where's your customer and what's going to allow you to interact the best with your customer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I have a big home automation website, right? That's my kind of my side project, right? We did
Mm-hmm.
about 166,000 visitors last year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just to kind of put that into context.
Good.
I've started following an installer of one of the brands that I talk about all the time, a brand called Control 4, right?
Okay.
And what they're doing, so they're doing a lot of stuff on Instagram, and they've now realized that there's also the shorts that they're producing for Instagram, which are great little videos, right? Actually, also work on YouTube because there's not that much content from the dealer perspective on YouTube about Control 4, for example, right? And so for me, because there's not, there's awareness. There are people searching on YouTube for Control 4, Crestron, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah, right? That of them there is demand, but there's not enough supply there. And so for me,
Mm-hmm.
they can get a great level of actual like views and interest that may not be able to convert to actual like business, which is another thing. But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like, actual creating awareness around what they're doing, where they're located and all that stuff, that's a really interesting prospect for me. Whereas they may not do very, very well on say like Facebook because they're doing like these walkthrough tools where they're doing things like they're showing how you can automate shades and TVs and that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
see.
thing. And that may not
Mm-hmm.
work so well on Facebook because people may not want to sit there and watch a 2-minute video, right? Whereas on Instagram, by the time you sat there and watched a 2-minute video, you haven't realized that you watched a 2-minute video, right? Same thing with
Yeah.
TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it is literally like where are my customers at? What is going to be appealing for them, but also what is not going to be appealing for them. And
Mm-hmm.
so I can give you an example. So a company that I started working with at the beginning of the year is called Iris.io, and they're a
Okay.
video tool that works with Shopify, right?
Okay.
You install the plugin, you import your data, and then you can create product videos in like 2 clicks, right? Wonderful
Okay.
piece of kit. great for if you're not creative or if you don't have the budget to be creative, right?
Yeah.
And I said to them, for me, that's fantastic for organic social. Because you imagine on like Twitter, right? If you're scrolling, and it's all text, and then boom, there's a video.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of what you expect, and that therefore is going to
You break the
drive.
pattern. You break the pattern.
You interrupt, right? And the same thing with like Facebook as well. Because it's text or images. Boom, you see a video, it's going to interrupt. You're going to sit there and watch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because they're aimed at kind of fast fashion and like fashion accessories and that kind of thing, it's really, really powerful what they're doing, right? Just as a tool. And so so I think you have to go with customers. You have to observe what content they're getting every day in and out, and try to do something a little bit different from that. That kind of interrupts their pattern. But then trying to do stuff is is just trying to test things. So give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I write on LinkedIn pretty much every day, right? 5 days a week, 6 days a week, right? Generally a post a day, right? I track how many how many impressions I get, and then what time I posted, what I posted, etc. Right? And so I can see what works and what doesn't work, and like I can then go back and say, right, I had a post that got 70 impressions. Can I tweak that post and post it 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, and try and tweak it so it gets more views or more interest, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it is, you have to be testing and you have to be trying different things. You have to be where your market is. And I think it's a combination of all of those factors that actually gets you to where you need to be, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing that you mentioned, like measuring what happens after you post it, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people do social media just blindly, like they just keep posting and hope something happens. And I think this actually just remind me of a question I had in my mind for you, which is when it comes to social media, I guess you also agree that it's also a matter of volume, right? And what I mean by this is like if you're posting only once per week, you're never going to have enough substantial data to actually strategize what is happening and how to fix it, right? So basically my question is, do you advise a certain frequency when it comes to social media to actually be able to have enough data, like maybe once per day or every 2 days, or is really going also depend on the brand? Or what have you seen with that as well?
So I think lots of people are of the opinion that you have to be posting like multiple times a day. And I think it could be more impactful to say, actually, we're going to post like on a Tuesday at 4 p.m, right? And that is your thing, and that's what you stick to, right? And then you can gather, you may not be able to gather a ton of, you can gather enough data to see, right, if we do like a Tuesday at 4 and then like a Thursday at 11, right? How that kind of spreads out and how that actually interrupts the pattern of them getting constant, because you can make it more meaningful then. The other thing that I would say, and sorry, this is probably backtracking just slightly, is most people fail on social. You must encounter this because they chase the wrong metrics. They don't have a plan. And so for me, you can post on social and it gets no likes, no reposts, no comments, but actually you get 20 click-throughs to the Amazon site or to your Shopify store, right? And that results in one sale. And that's what your KPI is. You're tracking, you're measuring sales, right? You're not measuring likes, comments, retweets, whatever. You're tracking sales. And therefore, on the face of it, it looks like you had a really dud post, right? But actually, on the back end, you're taking that KPI box and you're jumping up and down, my friend, because you sold, $200 worth of product that actually has a gross margin of like 60-70%. And so we're all happy then, right? Because that's what we're in the business of. We're in the business of shifting products, not like shares and retweets, right? Or going viral on TikTok. And so that's why I think a lot of people get it wrong, is they focus on how can I get more impressions, which is great. That's one thing that you should test.
But impression doesn't give you money. That's the thing.
Exactly. And and really interesting. I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday who said to me, he was saying to me, I get all this interest on like Instagram when I post and blah blah blah, and it never leads through to sales. And I was saying, okay, great. What are you tracking? What's the next step in your process? Are you trying to get them on the email list? And how often are you emailing them? How marketing isn't just a one-step, one-touch process anymore, is it? Right? And he was like, I said, okay, cool, we can fix that. Right, because you have the data to know that people are interested in what you're talking about, right? Because you can see that you're getting likes, you're getting impressions, etc. You just don't have any follow through, and that's what we need to focus on next. And that's when we set the KPI and set the touch points in that process. Because at the moment you've got one touch process, and you're trying to make a sell, and you're forgetting that there's this massive chasm in the middle, right? I mean, you build a bridge. If you build a bridge, we're all happy, right?
I think I don't remember when where I saw this, but I remember seeing this fact that on average a person needs to see your brand like 5 to 7 times before they make a purchase from you, something like that, right?
100%.
So
100%,
I totally agree with you. If those impressions that you're tracking, just let's say on Instagram, that's the only thing you do, that's one contact. Then from that, if you're not doing email marketing, you're missing one content. If you're not doing SEO, you're missing another content. So I think when it comes to e-commerce, it's building a whole ecosystem. I know like one silver bullet is gonna bring you all the sales. You know, you need to create the ecosystem that people stay on that circle that your brand is there bombarding them. You see?
Yeah. But also, I don't think, and you must find this as well. You know, a lot of people don't think about the aspirational element of what they're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you an example. So my favorite car is a Bentley Continental GT, right? The list price of it is, I think, £130,000, right?
Yeah.
I can't yet afford that, right?
Yeah.
Shocking, I know. Shocking. Soon. But what Bentley are expert at doing from the head office is creating aspirational content that draws you in and keeps you interested in the brand and keeps you aware of what the brand is doing and how they're right, etc., right? And that as like a retention strategy, you know, it may be 20 years before somebody sees Bentley advert and buys their first Bentley, right? Maybe 20 years.
I see.
And you imagine Bentley understand the head office level that they need to be producing content that keeps
invest
that
for years.
Invested, you know, that's aspirational, you know. And so that's what I think a lot of brands get wrong when they talk about marketing, is they think we're just going to do something and we're going to get a sale, and it's like, well,
no,
sure, but that's 2% of your active market, right? 98% of your market will not buy on the first touch point, and 50% of your market may never buy, right, or may buy 6 years down the line, and so you need to be consistent and be strategic with what you're doing, so that you are bringing these people along for the journey and they understand what you're doing, so that when they are ready to purchase, you are the only option, not an option in the sea, right?
Yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah, I think that's super important. I feel like that's the number one thing that kills most marketing plans out there, that they feel like you put X into something and next day you need to get Y. But I think nowadays it's more about building the brand awareness, building your presence, building that, behavior that people see you actively and they see you doing things around the specific niche. And as people start, see you, that's where you build the trust, and that's where they press the buy now button.
100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, actually, to be honest, it's been awesome, this conversation. I think we touched on very interesting topics. I mean, just SEO and social media can take hours and hours, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have you for future episodes so we can do it more technical and go more in depth.
I love that.
But the purpose of this one was to, give a taste around everything that happens also outside of Amazon, and to open your eyes that, these strategies that we talked today are definitely very important to scale your e-commerce business. So now, before we close today's episode, actually, I want to give you a minute or so you can tell us more about, where people can find about you and your business and how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, so they can go to ajsdigitalgroup.com. And or they can go to LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm a very friendly person. As long as you say, I heard you on such. I heard you on the e-commerce lab podcast. So people can do that. If people are overwhelmed with their marketing and just need somebody to talk to, they can book 50 minutes for free on my calendar. I'm always happy to talk to people. Always happy to help people. No question is too stupid for people to ask. The stupid questions are the ones you don't ask, right?
Yeah.
And so so I'm here. I'm available. If you can't get a hold of me, I'm sure they can come through you. And you can introduce them to me.
Let me know, and I make sure that they actually know.
Yeah. But no, I'm here, I'm around, I'm always happy to help people, always happy to try and solve problems, because that's what we do, right? Both of us do. We
Yeah,
solve problems.
that's great, actually. So thank you very much for your time, and
Yeah,
definitely
no
looking
problem at
forward to
all,
having the
my
next
friend.
one. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Okay, see you,
likewise.
man. Thank you. Bye bye.
See you later. Bye.